Hey there, here's what this is. The Forgotten Video Store is a weird and kind of gross rental store in North Hollywood where all their videos are bootlegs of unreleased, lost, or otherwise impossible to find movies. And on this podcast, we go to the Forgotten Video Store and rent one of their movies and try to make sense of it. I'm your host, David Murto, aka Daddy Big Cup. And my guest this time is a writer and a comedian and a horse doctor. And I know what you're thinking. How can a horse pass medical school? How does a horse hold a scalpel with his big old hooves? Well, see, you've fallen victim to a little grammatical ambiguity there. He's not a horse who is a doctor. He's a human doctor who treats patients who happen to be horses, which in a way is better for this podcast because he can speak. Matt Evans is here. Matt, thanks so much for going to the video store with me.
Yeah, I'm so excited. Yeah, it would be, I mean, you would have a better time out on the streets with a horse, but you're right. He couldn't
Podcasting, tougher.
No, it's not good. Yeah, they have good facial expressions, but that's about it.
I'm not a video podcast, and I don't believe in them.
Good, solid. I want to join that camp. Maybe you can talk me into that as we go.
Podcasts are for driving and doing dishes. They're not for sitting and looking at. You shouldn't have to look at them.
But if it was a horse, you would maybe just have
Yeah. A horse could be like a host of a talk show or something. That would be fine. Matt, you picked out a really interesting movie at the video store. It was called Animal Doctor from 2015.
It was a big almost hit. I think it should have been a hit. Came out and I thought it was a really original idea.
Let's get into it. We meet this guy and he's played by that actor Chris Cooper. Right?
Yeah, who I thought that was genius casting. Like
he's good.
Got that Texas twang. He's got kind of a dark side
intensity to him. Oh, Lone Star, of course. You mentioned Lone Star. Right. He's really good in that.
He was great. Yeah, and he was a good guy in that, but he's got a dark side to him. You know, there's some edge.
We meet him and he's like treating horses, like say ah, and the horse like opens up and he's checking out his teeth.
Yeah, they could have worked on that.
Yeah,
you know, like I felt like the director, like if you can ask a horse to say "ah" and they won't, but in that shot they were like, he said "say ah" and the horse opened its mouth. Yeah, and I was like, well, that's not. But I wasn't around. They didn't ask me.
Thank goodness it wasn't a gift horse. You're not supposed to look a gift horse in the mouth, but a regular horse.
Very clearly written down in the Bible.
But then the horse dies somehow, right?
Well, they do. Horses are not immortal, you know, and I don't want to upset your listeners, but yeah, they all die. Yeah, so the horse, he looks that horse in the mouth, and then the horse is very sick, and he loses that horse.
Yeah.
Which is just a heartbreaking way
He gets wobbly, woo, and then it slams down. It's kind of scary.
Yeah, it was a lot like an AT-AT in Star Wars, Empire Strikes Back, what it looked like.
And he does mouth-to-mouth on the horse, and you think, like, he's such a good animal doctor, he's going to bring this horse back, but he doesn't, and he's like, live, goddammit, live, like pounding on his chest, but it's no use.
I had a hard time during the mouth-to-mouth because horses breathe actually through their nostrils, so again, I just thought I wish I could have been there to help.
You should have offered your services, because you're in Texas, right? Normally. I mean, obviously you're in North Hollywood right now while we're recording this.
Right.
You were there in 2015 when they would have been making this
I was around, and I was available. You know, I would have charged them like an hourly rate, but I would have been like, it looks like Chris is just French kissing a dead horse. So let's change that up.
When your horses die on the table, do you try to bring them back via mouth to nose or something?
You know, yeah, we'll put a tracheal tube in is what I would have had them do. You know, so you can put a tube down their mouth and into their trachea, and then you can provide respiration that way. But that, you know, maybe they cut it because that's tedious. You know, all of a sudden now we're watching kind of a...
You're right. That's a good point. You want to hear your lead character emoting and showing a lot of spirit in the first couple of minutes. But anyway, he goes home. He meets with he's got a special horse. And her name is Angeline.
Angeline, yeah.
Yeah, and he talks to Angeline a little bit about, like, I lost a patient today, you know. There goes my streak. Yeah. A little jocular about it, but you can tell this is emotional for him. Like, he cares about his patients. He's a nice man.
Absolutely. Yeah, he was broken up.
The horse kind of goes, and Chris Cooper's like, yeah, let's go get a drink. He goes out and goes to the bar and orders a whiskey and stuff, and they let the horse in there because it's Texas or whatever.
Which is standard in Texas. Yeah. I thought that was really well done. Mm-hmm. Just so, if you want to move to Texas and get a horse, you can take that horse into a bar.
That's cool. Yeah.
As long as the horse is over 21.
In horse years or human years?
Human years. It's a messed up law, but, you know, that's our state.
What's a horse lifespan usually?
Around 30. You know, so you get a good 9 drinking years, which is nice.
Mm-hmm. But what I liked is when they're driving to the bar, he loads Angeline up in like a bright pink horse trailer, And it's like the Corvette of horse trailers. It looks so awesome. This is what kind of comes into the story a little bit, is some kind of shady looking younger guys come up to Chris Cooper in the bar and are like, how much you take for that trailer out there? Yeah, these are like kind of Swedish, up to no good type figures. And he's like, oh, it's not for sale. And they're like saying in Swedish, and on the subtitle says, everything's for sale for the right price, bitch. And then what Chris Cooper does, it's real cool. He goes, and you're like, oh, well, fuck, Chris Cooper can talk in Swedish too. And the subtitle's like, bitch is a dog term, not a horse term, idiot. And so he played them at their own game, which is awesome.
It's amazing. Yeah. And the bartender is pretty much in shock. All he knows is Chris Cooper is
soft-spoken animal doctor.
Comes in and has a drink with his horse, Angelina, on occasion. Your eyes are open at that point. Like, there's more to this horse doctor. Right. Why does he know how to speak Swedish?
That's like does one of your a horse patients ever go to the club and they like see you at the comedy club and they're like, holy shit, that's my doctor? Does that ever happen to them?
Yeah, they're blown away.
It's probably the exact same thing as what this bartender's thinking. But anyway, they go home. Well, they start going home. He like loads Angeline back in the pink horse trailer and they start driving home. He's got a big old truck and everything. And then you see some Volvos pull up. Swedish cars, and there's like the gangsters with the big old guns start blasting away at Chris Cooper. He has to put his head down and everything. One of them jumps up. It's kind of awesome. They like jump up on top of his car and like undo the hitch, and so they get the horse trailer for themselves, this like beautiful pink horse trailer, but Angeline was in there.
Yeah.
And like they blow out all of Chris Cooper's tires, and you think he's dead for a little bit. There's like 1 billion bullet holes in this car.
And it rolled down the hill, right?
Oh yeah, that was cool. But he gets out at the last minute before it catches on fire and explodes. And he's got like one little cut on his forehead to show that, he's not invincible or whatever. He's like, they took Angeline. Remember that movie American Beauty? He was good in that too.
Yeah, they really. I think they cast him well in that because the emotional, just angst that he brought to that scene. He looked really upset, and not about the trailer. It was all about Angelina.
Because if he was like a materialist, he would be upset about this really expensive trailer. But he's not. He's got like a humane heart. He cares about horses, which we learned in the first scene.
I'm proud of him because if I had written that, I would have had him just like on his knees, being like, that trailer cost me $75,000 and it's not insured. That's what I would have had him yelling. But they really focused on the horse. So I'm ashamed to say they out empathied me.
The next part was kind of interesting. He goes by his veterinary practice, right? And he starts going through the different tools of the trade.
A montage scene, and you can tell he's furious,
Yeah, and they're playing like metal music. That's real cool.
Yeah, he kicks open the back door, starts just in the pharmacy. It just looks like basic injectables, but he's grabbing stuff like xylazine, which, and he'll mutter to himself because, they know the audience doesn't know. So he's like, this will make him stop breathing.
Holy God.
And then he grabs some euthanasia solution, some sodium pentobarbital, and he's like, yeah, we're going to euthanize some Swedes.
Oh, hey, when a few years ago during the COVID lockdown, were people like breaking into your practice to steal the ivermectin?
I've never had any ivermectin stolen from me, but I have been propositioned to sell some ivermectin before.
Yeah, what'd that go for?
I never sold it, but I only sold it to horse owners.
Here, I'm going to turn off the recording real quick. How much did you sell it for?
Millions. That's why I have the free time to talk to you.
Yeah.
No, here's how I recommend people take ivermectin if you're interested. Like if you're at home, you're like, I want some. So take the entire horse tube. It's like a long tube. It's like 8 inches long.
Yeah, it's for
Shove the entire thing, not just the contents, the entire tube up your butt. Shove it all the way up your ass, and then when you're having trouble getting it out, you can go to the emergency room. And then you'll get a chance to talk to a real doctor and get some real medical advice. Yeah. So while he's pulling it out, you can be like, hey, do you recommend ivermectin for my disease process? And that doctor, emergency doctor, she'll say, no, I don't. And stop shoving stuff up your ass.
So there is a medical benefit. It's just a little roundabout. So Chris Cooper's real awesome.
So next stop, surgery suite. scalpel handles, scalpel blades. He grabs like one of each side of each scalpel blade. And then the other great tool that horse veterinarians have is they're called hoof testers, and they look like giant channel lock pliers. Yeah, use them to squeeze on a horse's hoof to see if they're tender, but it's just like a big oversized pair of pliers. And when you see those, like when I saw those, I was like, well, I know how this is going to play out, because those would look like you could put those on some temples and squeeze. Immediately. It was almost like a trope. It was like, oh, I know what's going to happen. But you're so mad at these Swedes that you're
right,
like, bring it. Yeah, they deserve it. So he grabs all that stuff, throws it in his truck. You don't know, but after he gathers everything else up, they cut to that scene where those thugs, or the Swedish. I hate to call them that. I don't want to use bad language on your podcast. The Swedish jerks,
Yeah.
They haul the trailer back to the big boss, and the Swedish butcher is what they called him.
Yeah, the Swedish butcher. He wears like the white like butcher's apron with the blood splatters on it. It's real cool.
Always, yeah, and operates out of like a meat packing plant. Everybody's chilled, and he's not cold in there, but everybody's shivering the whole time they're talking to him. Always,
and he kind of goes, and the guys are like, but we went to all this effort to steal it. And they're like, all right, I thought you would love it, but yeah, we'll take it to the shop, the chop shop. So they go to the guy, and it's Joey Pants from The Matrix. Remember, right. Joe Pantoliano?
Yeah.
And he runs like the car shop, and they bring it in.
Right.
And they're like, we want to, we'll sell this to you black market style because we're criminals. And he's like, you idiots! Yeah. This belongs to the animal doctor, Chris Cooper. Right. And they're like, huh? Like they don't know who that is or whatever.
Yeah, idiots.
He like just punches one in the jaw, and they're like, why'd you do that? And he's like, get out of here right now. I don't want to see you guys in here again. And then the next day, Chris Cooper goes into Joey Pants' shop because he's like thinking like 2 steps ahead or whatever. He's like, has anyone been by with my trailer? And Joey Pants is like, yeah, they came by and I didn't sell it to them. It was those Swedish gangsters or whatever. And they like to hang out at
Billy Bob's
Honky Tonk.
I think Animal Doctor would have figured that out on his own, but it did help move the plot along. They just kind of got right to the point.
I like that.
But here's what I wondered about was like they steal the trailer. It's got Angeline in it. Yeah. They go to the talk to the butcher.
The butcher. Angeline's still in there?
She's still in there, but then they go to Joey Pants.
She's not in
Angeline
there.
In that trailer. My brain's like,
what
the
happened?
Butcher butchered her. She's hung up in that.
Yeah, she's in the meat packing plant. Oh yeah,
that's
I'm
one
like,
of those she's about to be sold for hamburger. It almost ruined the movie for me. It's like you can't introduce a horse and then kill it. Like
it is sad.
You can kill people.
I mean, the horse died in the opening scene in the movie also, so we know this movie is ruthless in that way. This is a tough, like hardcore movie, and we get into that in the next scene when Chris Cooper goes to Billy Bob's Honky Tonk. A cover band doing Garth Brooks favorites, and like the dance floor is like packed with people like square dancing and shit. Real awesome. It's so loud in there that you hardly even notice when Chris Cooper walks in with all his horse gear.
And it's dark, and they have the strobe lights going like in time with the music. And so he's just kind of able to stroll in amongst them. Yeah, and like but the Swedish guys, they came with bodyguards.
Because they've been told to look out for him. Because now they know, he's a dangerous figure. There's these stories about him. He's like a boogeyman in the Swedish mob. These guys are like brandishing guns and stuff coming at him. And he starts injecting them with different serums and stuff, like right in the neck. That stuff is fast acting, too.
Yeah, pretty fast acting. The xylazine makes him stop breathing. My favorite one, he got like immediately, like he was having trouble getting like medication pulled up in time, so he just like put like a big gauge needle, like a 14 gauge, just right in that guy's jugular, and then he just bled out of the needle.
That was cool. Like the whole needle like filled up with blood, and then he turns to the next guy and like sprays the blood in his eyes, and he's like, oh! And at a certain point, I'm like, he's like killing people like left and right in this bar. But then I put it together. I'm like, he's not just killing anybody. They're all like 6.5 feet tall and blonde, these Swedish thugs. And that's how you know who's the bad guys.
There was that one guy that it wasn't clear, but then like as he's killing, like he pulls the shirt apart and he's got like an IKEA undershirt on.
Chris Cooper like spots the one kid who like called him a bitch in the bar earlier in the movie or whatever. And he starts slipping out back. But like his one bodyguard like comes up and it's like a huge dude, right? Who's like monstrous and he like punches him as hard as he can in the stomach and the dude like doesn't flinch or whatever.
Yeah.
It's real awesome. Chris Cooper's like, I'm going to give you one chance to tell me where he's going and I'll let you live. And the big guy's like, ho, 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 ho. Like, doesn't take him seriously at all. He has a message for you. Want to return your horse. And he pulls out from his pocket a bottle of glue.
It looked like a bottle of Elmer's glue, but they had clearly just with a piece of tape and masking tape, they had written Angeline over the top of that, which I guess they knew from her halter, you know, but like...
well, it was the license. It was the vanity plate on the horse trailer, right? It said Angeline, right?
He's like, and if you don't think she's glue, maybe you think she's hamburger. So we got out like just like a pound of hamburger that he had in his pocket the whole time, which is gross. Just sitting in there like at body temperature. Hamburger
yeah, you
meat,
don't want that.
Like, we made both, you know, because like the glue comes from the hoofs and the hamburgers the meat.
I didn't know the glue came from the hoof.
Yeah, that's how they make glue. It's all the collagen from the hoofs and stuff like that.
That's cool.
I've never been to a glue factory, just to be clear, but that is my understanding. I don't think that glue is made from horses anymore.
And then it's cool. They have a like real awesome fight scene that's like almost choreographed to the Garth Brooks songs. And Chris Cooper's a fine dancer, and he kind of tips the guy over, like goes for like a dip kind of at the opportune moment. He goes right into the
the mechanical bull.
Yeah, the mechanical bull. Yeah. Pushes the horns right through the guy's chest, comes out the other side.
Yeah.
But now Chris Cooper, like, kind of the trail's gone cold. I think next is when he went to the IKEA, which I know happened in another movie I've talked about this season. But he went to an IKEA just sitting down with some Swedish meatballs because he's like, these people have
I guess it was seeing that shirt that he was like, oh, IKEA.
The chefs there, the Swedish chefs there, he starts like grilling them. Do you know anything about this kid? And he describes the guy who called him a bitch at the bar or whatever. And they're like, I don't know anything about that. I don't know. I never heard of him. And they're like, here's the card of where we get the meat for our meatballs from, the butcher where we get our meatballs. And he's like, this is not what I asked for. I want to know where this...
Right, I'm not looking...
And the chef is just like, I don't know anything about that guy, but this is where we get our meatball meat. And he's like, I don't give a shit about that. And so he takes the card or whatever. He kind of goes home. He starts, he has like one of those clue boards with all the string and everything, but it's kind of the most simplistic one we've seen because it's just a picture of his horse. And then he tacks up the card of the butcher and he's just kind of like studying it for a while. Then he takes a piece of red string and goes from one to the other. He's like, I've got it.
But then they did that weird cutaway where he assembled the furniture he bought from IKEA for like a long period of time.
That was satisfying though. I was like, yeah, it didn't have anything to do with the main storyline, but it did show like, oh, he's a resourceful guy.
And can follow instructions. Yeah, and he used up... I liked at the end, like it's together and they showed the bag that like the screws came in. And they were all used up, and I was
it's like nothing left over. It's almost like the Swedish villains with the horse. They used the whole horse. There's nothing left over.
Oh, that's what they were doing.
It's like a thematic thing. But they cut back to like the butcher shop, and he's there with the villain who called Chris Cooper a bitch, and he goes, "Listen to me, my son," and you're like, it's this guy's son. He goes, "The animal doctor you mess with isn't just any animal doctor. He's Chris Cooper, who used to be a Texas Marshal." Oh, that's how he knows how to like kill people with his bare hands and stuff, because Texas Marshals are always doing that kind of stuff.
And that's still to this day, you know, that's not even fabricated. But they always have a horse, you know. So like as soon as he said Texas Marshal, like if you're a Texan like me, you're like, Oh, his partner was a horse. They don't have a human partner, they have a horse partner, and the horse is trained to fight too.
The Swedish butcher is like schooling his son about all this stuff, and he's like, Dad, I didn't know. And he's being real pathetic and stuff. And he's like, I'm gonna have to put you in protective custody. And so he like puts him like in the back in the freezer room, and it's real cold and stuff, and he like locks him in. So after Chris Cooper's kind of made this connection with the yarn or whatever, he goes to the butcher shop just to like stake it out. He's right. Wearing a disguise and everything. He's got like the big Groucho glasses on and stuff, and he's like checking it out, and he's like, oh, there's like Swedish goons like left, right, and center on this place. And he's like, I'm going to need a little extra prep time. And then, and he goes to like a...
Yeah, like a horse boarding stable. Yeah.
Yeah, boarding stable. And it's run by the guy from Deadwood, Timothy Oliphant. And he's like, Chris Cooper, I haven't seen you in years, but they're like old friends or whatever. Right. And he's like, as you know, as long as you're on the territory of this boarding stable, no one's allowed to kill you. And I thought that was an interesting detail, because that implies that like people are allowed to kill you in other places.
I think that really filled out the world for me.
Yeah, it's like, a world building.
Instead of just this being like a one-off where like this dumbass kid, got with the wrong guy, which would have been good enough for me.
There's also a secret society of like Texas Rangers and the criminal underworld, and they have like these special like tokens and stuff, and he's like, you can only pay with the special tokens at the boarding stable. And then one of the Swedish goons like busts in. He's like blasting away. They're not cool with this, and like all the horses at the stable, like basically they tie, and I had never seen this before, is they like tie him up because he broke the rules of the stable or whatever. You're not supposed to attack people.
Which is a no-go, apparently.
Yeah, and they tie him up 4 different horses and tie him up on his arms, and then they spank all the horses and they go running in 4 different directions. The guy gets quartered, right? He gets ripped apart.
Right.
In 4
yeah,
ways.
Very old-fashioned.
But it was like pretty awesome. It was like, and then all his limbs popped off, and then he's just a body with a head, and he didn't care for that one bit.
Yeah, my favorite was that they had gambled on like what limb, like the pelvis, was going to stay attached, almost like a wishbone.
Yeah.
One guy won a lot of money, and they were like, "How do you always know?" And he's like, "It's usually the left leg that gets the pelvis. I don't know how."
But he gets a bunch of those tokens. He can stay in like the nicest part of the stable that night, which is cool. But anyway, Chris Cooper survived. And he went here not only to visit his old friend, the guy from Deadwood, but he wanted to get like a special tool.
It was a cat. He's like, "Give me the calf jack."
What's a calf jack?
They know that we don't know, so they described it. So basically, it's like a winch system that you that you can pull a calf out of a cow with. At this point, it seems a little derivative, like if they just pulled a guy apart, but you could see that you could attach this winch to somebody and then do some damage to him. So it's like it's got like a U-shaped part that goes against the cow's pelvis, and then you attach the chain to the calf, and then you can just apply however much torque you need. But you're like, no, that's one thing when you're trying to get a calf born. But if you're going to put that on somebody's like head, you put that U part on their shoulders and you put the chain on their head, like you can kind of see what he's working on. Like he's going to torture somebody.
So then Chris Cooper like goes back to the butcher shop, right? I thought this was cool because he's like, there's no way I can sneak in. They're guarding every door. So he's just going to go in like it's nothing. And then the Swedish goons are coming like left, right, and center. And he's got like the hoof
testers,
grabs a dude with them and like picks him up off the ground. I thought that was cool. And cracks him like a walnut, and then his brain like goes and like shoots out and like spins in the air and then lands, and like the bullet goes everywhere. It's real awesome. And then like more and more Swedish goons are coming, and it's a butcher shop, so they've got like a bunch of butchery tools too, which is real scary.
But he's familiar with them, like you can tell. Like they have that it's like a bandsaw for splitting carcasses. He runs that guy right down the middle of it.
Right. And then there's this one part where you just hear in the background, like as all this violence is going down, you hear, and Chris Cooper's like, "What?
Oh yeah,
Angeline?" And he goes and he's like pushing through all the carcasses of the animals that are hanging from the ceiling, and there she is. She's back there all tied up, and he's like, "Angeline, you're alive?" And that's when one of the goons like pop hits him in the back of the head, falls down. He wakes up. He's tied up right next to Angeline. And you're like, this sucks. And the bad guy, the Swedish butcher, he goes, extravaganza. And like the subtitles are like, I want you to know I never had anything against you before all of this. This is purely because I care about my son. I have to protect my family, my blood, the heir to my butchery fortune.
Well, no, you don't. I think, you messed with Chris Cooper. At that point, like, I'm not on his side at all. That dad messed up, and he knows he messed up. You can see the fear in his eyes.
You think the dad should have turned over his son, the bitch boy?
Yeah. I mean, that kid was trouble. It's not like that was his first time doing something like
this.
Yeah,
you do get the impression this kid is like a screw-up. He's a fail son.
Right. That speech, I was unmoved. I was unmoved, yeah. I wanted him to die as bad as I wanted the son to die then.
He gets out like the spinning saw thing that and he's getting real close to Chris Cooper's neck and stuff. And Chris Cooper's like, I'll give you this one chance. Turn over the little bitch boy and I'll let you live. And the Swedish butcher is like, and like the subtitles are like, you're not holding any cards here, Chris Cooper. You're not in any position to make any sort of demands.
Cooper's got that scalpel blade that he had hidden in his hand, and he's able to cut himself free.
The last second's real awesome. And what he does is he gives Angeline a little spank, and she like kicks up her legs and pops the bad guy, the butcher, like right in the head. He's going down, and then Chris Cooper gets a hold of the spinning blade, and he's like getting real close, and he's like, you need to tell me where the little bitch boy is. The Swedish butcher goes, and the subtitle's like, aren't you a doctor? Don't you remember the Hippocratic oath? Like, first do no harm. Chris Cooper goes, Hippocratic oath? I treat horses, not hippos. And then like brings down the blade, and it's like Hippocratic oath doesn't have anything to do with hippos.
No, exactly. It's named after Hippocrates, who was
see.
The Greek physician, and a failure on their part of doing like just the slightest amount of background checking would have given this movie some more verisimilitude, if they had bothered with that. But I guess they were just playing like animal, like it's funny to be like,
he's an animal doctor. He does animal puns. It was cool, but it was like this is kind of like a climactic moment. You don't really want a head scratcher at that point.
Then after that, he looks around the butcher shop and he's like, luckily there's a lot of meat here because I'm a hungry hippo.
Now he's taking it one step too far. It's hat on a hat.
Yeah, that's what I felt like. Yeah. And like, are they getting money from Hasbro?
But anyway,
no effort.
Takes a scalpel and like cuts Angeline's bonds so she can get out, and they like cook up some meat, and they're having a nice time and everything. But she goes and like leads him back towards like the freezer area. Remember from earlier in the movie when little bitch boy gets put in there, and he's like, is there something back there you want me to see? You kind of feel like the movie's like over, but it's like it's time for one more action scene. He opens the freezer. Little bitch boy's there, but he's so cold that he became kind of like encased in ice, and so like that,
it's like a frozen little bitch boy.
Yeah, but it's like kind of freaky because he tries to like attack him with the scalpel, it just bounces right off. Attacks him with this blade, and like the ice is too thick, and this kind of he's almost like a ice monster coming at him now. It's real scary, and he's got like icicles that he can stab, and like Chris Cooper's getting stabbed. There's blood all over, and this guy is like, who's the little bit? You're the little bitch boy, Chris Cooper, and your horse too. That's when he gets out the calf. What's it called?
Calf jack.
Calf jack.
Yeah, the calf jack.
He's like, it's time to deliver the calf. Oh, because they had made a fire earlier, right? When they were cooking the meat. He takes him over to the fire, and he like melts his like ass, melts the ice around his ass with the fire. And then
which took some time.
Yeah, but he's so strong or whatever from being a Texas Marshal that he's able to hold him in place. Yeah. And then he takes a calf jack and like shoves it way up there, and like
Ooh,
then
what a way to go.
And he pulls, and like all his guts and stuff come out, and then you see like
right out of his asshole.
His liver, his lungs, you see his heart, and it's still beating a little bit, and little bitch boy's like, is that my heart? And then he just falls over dead.
Man, satisfying.
And then Chris Cooper's like, Angeline, I did it all for you. It's like, no shit. And then he gives her a big hug and stuff, and it's real nice.
Yeah. Just such a relief that she was still alive. Because you kind of got the idea that maybe they were like a fighting pair. So I was hoping for like a little more Angeline fighting. But, you know, like the whole world got created. And it's like, in my mind, there's room for a movie kind of focused on her in the stable.
Spin-off,
you know, she goes back to this. I think they were setting it up for that, you know, which I guess apparently never got made, or at least I don't know of it. You know,
I don't think they got
11
to
years
sequels.
now.
Yeah, but there was a nice part where, like, over the end credits, you see them go back to the boarding stable and they get like a nice like couples massage and stuff, and the horse, and that's when they get out the thing where they clean the hoof. Do you ever have to do that with the cleaning the hoofs? Or?
Yeah, we clean the hoofs. Yeah, and so people like that. That was good. I like that they had that running while the credits, you know, they would have the credits on one side and then hoof cleaning on the other, and then they would switch hoofs. And yeah, I thought that was pretty artsy. And also just like after that much violence, I think we all needed a palate cleanser, you know, just something to, I think I'm going to pitch the Angelina movie.
Yeah.
I think we can get that made.
Lovely film. Thank you so much for picking that out. I had a blast watching it. To end out the show, I like to do like plugs and shout outs. So like anything you want to promote. I know you've got a book out and some shows you can probably promote, and your practice maybe. Right. Who's to say? But and then just like anything in general you want to shine a light on. For me, I was just thinking years ago when the Lord of the Rings movies came out, and there was like at the MTV Movie Awards, there was a very funny sketch where it was like Ben Stiller and Vince Vaughn had a meeting with Peter Jackson, and the bit was like, these are unscrupulous movie studio heads who are pitching obviously dumbass Lord of the Rings spin-offs, like because the movies were so successful, like what if a movie studio was so craven that they would continue to make movies even though the story is obviously over. And so I just wanted to shout out Peter Jackson for making that a reality, because they have not one but two Lord of the Rings spin-off movies in production right now.
Yeah, I love that. He watched that and was like, oh, I've got an idea.
Well, he was in it because they were pitching to him. So this, like, maybe that inspired him to sell out in a big way. Good for him. Get that bag, Peter Jackson. All right, so what do you want to promote? How can people find you?
Yeah, well, I don't have anything as good as Lord of the Rings. I have a book that's coming out in September. It's called Chomping at the Bit.
Nice. Where should people order that? Where you'll get the biggest cut?
My publisher wants people to pre-order at Amazon so bad. They talk about it all the time.
Sure.
But you can get it anywhere. You can get it at bookshop.org. or
Chomping at the Bit.
Yep, and it's not violent at all. Because it's about me being a new grad veterinarian. It's like if you like All Creatures Great and Small and you like Scrubs, that's the combo.
That's an interesting mix of worlds. Anything else? And you do comedy around town.
I do comedy around Austin. Depends on when this is coming out, but they can always go to my website, mattevanscomic.com, and see where I'm at. I've got a lot of shows coming up.
And I'll link to that in the show notes, so that'll be easy to find.
Awesome.
Matt.
Yeah, this is fun. This is crazy.
Thank you so much for coming all the way to North Hollywood to rent that video with me. It was a blast.
Yeah, you're welcome. Now, are we going to get tacos, or am I on my own after this?
Let's get tacos. Let's hit up Guisados in Burbank.
Only if you order in Swedish.
Okay.
Yeah, deal.
The end. Thanks so much for listening to this episode of Forgotten Video Store. Share this podcast with your friends, if you have any friends, and follow the show on your podcast app, because next week I'll be heading to the video store with Rosie Tran of Last Comic Standing and Rosie Tran Presents. Forgotten Video Store is a slop-free zone. We never use any artificial intelligence for any part of the production of this podcast. There's nothing artificial about this show. You might also say there's nothing intelligent about this show. The music in this episode is Funky Energy, looped by Kevin MacLeod and Compotech.com, licensed under Creative Commons by Attribution 4.0 license. Okay, bye!